In this video, I wanted to talk about one aspect of filmmaking that many people don't talk about enough for some reason, even though I think it's like the most important aspect of filmmaking. Is it directing? No. Is it script writing? No. I think it's producing. Producer is the guy who builds the team. He is the guy who brings everyone in. Now, if the director is powerful enough, like a Chris Nolan or a Scorsese or a Spielberg, they often become producers, and it becomes a more of a collaborative approach between the director and the producer, and many times both of them become the same thing. But I think it's important to recognize what the producer does, when to say yes, when to say no. And I think Joker 2 or even Megalopolis to some extent are prime examples of when the producers just said, man, go out there, make your own movie, no studio interference, nothing. Make a movie that you think is the best movie that you can make. And that is often touted as a great thing, like total creative freedom for the director to express what they want. And I recently watched The Substance and I thought it was great, and I'll put a review out. That is one movie where creative freedom actually works. But there are instances where creative freedom must be tested. There has to be some backlash, especially when you're making a movie that costs $200 million to make. That was the case with Megalopolis. I think it did not cost 200 million, but 120 million, and it is going to lose like 150 or 100 million dollars. Like, it's not going to make any money. I don't think there is any studio who put money on Megalopolis, rightly so. Francis Ford Coppola self-funded that project. But when you look at Joker 2, Todd Phillips didn't put money into Joker 2. It was the studios. And I think it's a big learning step for the producers across many of these big budget movies, that you can't just greenlight and hope that the director will deliver a movie that the audience will like. Now, I'm sure that Todd Phillips and team and everyone involved in Joker 2 are proud of their movie, even though I don't think anyone else is. The people who were watching it found it to be excruciating. I've heard instances where they wanted to leave the theater, and budgeting that movie at, I don't know, it's like 180 to 200 million dollars was a huge mistake. Sometimes you need someone to say no to your ideas. And I've heard instances where Francis Ford Coppola on the sets of Megalopolis would just prolong the shooting process so that he gets these ideas into his head, prolonging the scheduling of actors and everything. And there are instances of misbehavior on set as well. And these things are just unprofessional and need to be called out. I don't think people are calling out Francis Ford Coppola for his bullshit. I think people are criticizing Megalopolis and revering the person as if he's some saint or something. He's definitely not. People need to be called out for the things that they have done. At least acknowledge it. I'm not telling people to punish Francis Ford Coppola. I'm not telling him to not make a movie anymore. I'm not asking people to cancel him. I hate cancel culture. Not at all. But at least acknowledge what was going on behind the scenes on Megalopolis. But yeah, I guess that's a separate issue. But yeah, just wanted to put a video out acknowledging the importance of producers and why I believe in the process of saying no to your creative directors or writers or anything. There has to be a checkpoint. After all, the producer is the one putting all his risk. I can put a script out. I can say that it's my creative freedom. But if it does not make any money, it's pretty much useless. And I know that the term cash grab or making things for money is thrown around in a negative way, but really, like, if I'm spending $50 million on a movie, I don't expect to lose $50 million. I don't care what your creative freedom is. And I think there is a way to balance audience expectations, the expectations of the producer, the expectations of the director in a harmonious way. That is why filmmaking is so amazing. It's the process of bringing different voices together, hearing everyone out, and making the best possible movie for the audiences, for yourself, for the critics, for everyone, the Oscars, everything. There's a way to balance all that, and you can make a movie out of it. And it can be weird and amazing as well. Like, Chris Nolan did not become famous just by following the conventions. He made non-linear movies. He made movies that challenged the audiences. It was a risk, guys. It was a risk. I'm not saying that Chris Nolan did not make risky movies, but he did that once he proved himself. He made a Memento. That was financially successful and in the festivals as well. That is the reason the producer gets the Best Picture award at the Oscars, the biggest award of the night. It's not the director, it's not the writer, it's always the PGA, it's always the producers. And I just hope that instances like this does not happen in the future. I would rather have a movie not lose much money than a director coming in and having a swing. Now, I know that's a thing that's not ideal to say, especially in the creative world, but I really do believe in checks and balances, and I think that Joker 2 is a prime example of that. I'm not going to target Francis Ford Coppola for making the movie because he self-funded it. He can do anything with his money, but Joker 2 is an example where people who put their money lost money, and it will pay a price. The next time someone wants to make a Joker 2, they won't even greenlight the movie. So I think it's important that these movies turn out to be box office successes. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. See you in the next video.